This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
The only way for us to survive as a business is to raise prices and probably cut expenses, which means firing people.
The so-called Gaza Health Ministry is actually Hamas.
2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. We start with the economy. Stocks traded lower all day after the Labor Department reported just 73,000 new jobs last month. CBS's Jason Brooks.
Even more glaring than the softer than expected gain of 73,000 jobs are downward revisions to May and June that slashed 258,000 jobs, leaving a combined gain of only 33,000 jobs for the 2 months, the weakest 3-month gain for the economy since the pandemic erupted in 2020.
The president said tariffs will go up on Canada and Syria and other nations that won't renegotiate trade deals. Canada will pay a 35% tariff. Trump saying they're not doing enough to curb the spread of fentanyl. Prime Minister Mark Carney.
We're seeking the best deal for Canadians.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, pushing back in a statement, wrote Canada accounts for only 1% of U.S. fentanyl imports. He went on to say Canadians will be our own best customer, creating more well-paying careers at home.
New York Senator Chuck Schumer says tariffs are a joke.
The Trump tariff trade war is a trade war on the American people.
This Maryland business owner sells pet products that are often manufactured in China, then sold in U.S. stores.
We now have a 25% tariff on this product that we didn't have. The only way for us to survive as a business is to raise prices and probably cut expenses, which means firing people.
Now here's the flip side. Revenue coming into the U.S. from tariffs has spiked. The U.S. collected $27 billion in June alone. Known Trump critic J.P. Morgan Chase's CEO says it's proving to be very good for businesses and jobs.
We started tariffs. We didn't know what they're going to be, and now we kind of know, and they're more moderate and thoughtful and more carefully done, and hopefully they'll help some companies export. Maybe some people move manufacturing back here. So, so far, so good.
In Gaza, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee and Special Envoy Stephen Witkoff visited the Gaza Strip today amid growing concerns of Palestinians starving there. CBS's Robert Berger.
This was a 5-hour visit, pretty long visit today by Witkoff and the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. But it's short on details. Witkoff said that the visit helps the U.S. craft a plan to deliver food and medical aid to the people of Gaza.
But Mike Huckabee didn't seem to be shy on details. He described what he saw inside the refugee zone to Fox News.
I put pictures out on Twitter that showed that there were over 900 trucks filled with food, thousands of pallets of food sitting, rotting in the sun, that the UN refused to move into Gaza to feed people that could have fed Gaza for 2 years.
He says food isn't the issue. Food distribution is the issue because Hamas is in charge of the aid and the communication.
The so-called Gaza Health Ministry is actually Hamas. They tell a story, usually false. They hand it off to Al Jazeera. That's a Hamas-related entity. The next thing you know, they've told some NGO at the UN this false information, who then gives it to the UN, and the UN reports it, no one having checked it out, no one having verified the veracity of the information. People are quoting the UN, but they're really quoting Hamas. That's where it all started.
President Trump just sent some submarines to Russia's doorstep after a back and forth online with them today. CBS's Tom Hansen.
President Trump has taken to Truth Social saying that he is sending, quote, 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that.
You hear it at the beginning of PBS programs.
Funding for this program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and biannual financial support from viewers like you.
But that's soon going to come to an end. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting said today it will close on September 30th. There was a small plane crash in Rochester this afternoon near Maplewood Park near the Genesee River. The story's still developing, but it might cause some minor traffic delays. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is taking heat for blasting the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. It bans trans athletes in girls' sports. Shapiro speaking to WITF Radio in Harrisburg yesterday.
What we do not need in Pennsylvania are extremist politicians like Donald Trump, and Doug Mastriano, and these others trying to legislate a student's participation.
House Republican leader Jesse Topper tells ABC 27.
To go in a media outlet and say that those who support that are extremists is not only unhelpful, but it's untrue. In fact, the majority of people who voted for Josh Shapiro think that this is a good idea.
Topper says a ban on trans athletes in girls' sports is an issue that an overwhelming majority of Pennsylvanians support, both Democrats and Republicans. And today is the last day for school districts in New York to submit their plans for instituting a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones at school. That policy takes effect next month when students return to the classroom for another academic year. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, an app to help you keep an eye on the mental health of your teenagers, and a trip to the Corning Museum of Glass. Those stories after weather.
This is meteorologist Ken McKinley with our Family Life forecast as we head into the weekend. A very pleasant weather pattern on the way with a lot of sunshine, which will carry not only through the weekend, but also into early next week. A few lingering clouds over eastern Pennsylvania for a while this evening, but they will thin out and dissipate as we head through the next several hours. Across the rest of the region, clear skies as we head through this evening and tonight, with some rather cool temperatures for early August. Well down in the 50s. A couple of spots could even dip into the upper 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, though, temperatures are rebounding nicely with sunshine from start to finish across the entire region. Pretty well up in the 70s. A couple of spots could hit 80 tomorrow as we begin the weekend. Plenty of sunshine again on Sunday with temperatures in all areas into the 80s.
Thank you, Ken. Next at 5, our special staycation destination feature just for the summer. Our own Mark Webster takes you straight to the Museum of Glass in Corning, New York. Let's listen in.
Tell me a bit about the founding of the museum. Corning's got quite a bit of name recognition. You go outside of this area and you say Corning, people probably would think Corning Glass.
Well, in 1951, Corning Incorporated was celebrating their 100th anniversary. And true to form with how the corporation is always giving to their community, they wanted to give a gift to the world, not just the community or the nation. And they founded the Corning Museum of Glass at that time, truly as a gift to the world on their 100th birthday.
And certainly a rich history to display. Give us a little bit of an idea. It's not just a go and stare at old pieces of glass experience. There's a lot of hands-on.
That's the best part, I believe, about the museum is experience. Many guests arrive really not knowing what is a glass museum. One of the most uttered phrases today is, "I had no idea." And that truly sums up the depth and breadth of what one will experience when they come to the museum. Of course, we have the history of glass dating back 3,500 years to present, but there's also the artistic and glassmaking experience where people can watch and interact with live glassblowing demonstrations all day, every day. There's the science and technology of glass, and I think that's probably the most unexpected area of the museum experience. Is one is not thinking that they're going to see or learn about the innovations in glass, and yet we have all of that. And then to your point, you can get really hands-on with glass, not only in various interactives and various galleries, but also we have a dedicated space and workshop, if you will, where guests can make their own glass. And it's our Make Your Own Glass workshop. And you can do one of these glass experiences if you're 2 years old or 92 years old.
Yeah, a thing that most people wouldn't experience in life if they couldn't do it here. Let's talk about the history a little bit more. And going back 3,500 years, what are some of the more interesting points along that part of the museum that people...
For me, it's still hard. I've been with the museum quite a long time, and it's still hard for me to wrap my head around how one would even invent working with glass and glass making, let alone the evolution. 2,000 years ago is when it was a really pivotal moment in the history of glass, when glass blowing was invented. And that's when you started seeing larger scale vessels like jars and drinking vessels being made because of glass blowing.
Something we just take so for granted is always existing.
It's true. And, to go back to the science and technology, I think that's one of the reasons I really appreciate the innovation galleries being a part of visitors' experience, because it conveys, or perhaps it gets one to stop and reflect or think about how glass truly has changed the way we live today. There never used to be glass windows. There never used to be glass bottles. Things that we take for granted day in and day out, let alone the thin glass on these mobile devices that we know and love and are attached to so much. And then I always bring up that optical fiber is glass. Optical fiber connects the world. And imagine going through the pandemic in an unconnected world.
All right, let's just delve a little bit more into the hands-on part. I think glass blowing, glass making, I think heat. It's going to be hot.
You're correct.
Well, how do you have to be to make glass?
I'm no expert, but you need to have glass at least like 1,000 degrees or hotter to be able to work with it. But the reheating furnaces, they're at 2,300 degrees. So it gets really hot. The team of artists that we have at the museum, they make it look so simple and so beautiful and very engaging, because the demonstrations, Mark, are narrated as well. So you as a member of the audience, if you have a question, you can just shout out your question and the narrator will gladly answer. They're an encyclopedia of knowledge. They tell me that you do build up a bit of a resistance working around that heat all day, every day in your career. I, for one, don't understand how that could be, but it's great because you kind of get a taste of the glass experience watching these demonstrations, and then again, you can come and try to make it yourself, and that's where certainly an appreciation for their talents grow, because what they make look very simple is, in fact, quite complex.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share Staycation Destinations and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
Don't tie yourself in knots over things you can't control. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Do you have control over the economy and the stock market? What about inflation? The answer, of course, is no. But you know what you do have control over? Your own financial behavior. You can plan well by making a budget. You can automate your savings so that you're regularly setting money aside for emergencies, insurance payments, car repairs, and so on. You can resist the temptation to make impulse purchases. You can participate in your company's retirement plan or contribute to an IRA. These are faithful steps you can take. God doesn't ask us to control everything. He calls us to be faithful with what He's entrusted to us. That's biblical stewardship in action. We can help you learn to manage your money according to biblical principles when you download the free FaithFi app. You'll find it on our website at faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, cell phones are a problem for your teenager's mental health, but what can you do to stay ahead of it? A dad and a business CEO has created something pretty incredible to give you a leg up. We've got that story after one last look at weather.
This is meteorologist Ken McKinley with our Family Life forecast as we head into the weekend. A very pleasant weather pattern on the way with a lot of sunshine, which will carry not only through the weekend, but also into early next week. A few lingering clouds over eastern Pennsylvania for a while this evening, but they will thin out and dissipate as we head through the next several hours. Across the rest of the region, clear skies as we head through this evening and tonight, with some rather cool temperatures for early August. Well down in the 50s. A couple of spots could even dip into the upper 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, though, temperatures are rebounding nicely with sunshine from start to finish across the entire region. and pretty well up in the 70s. A couple of spots could hit 80 tomorrow as we begin the weekend. Plenty of sunshine again on Sunday with temperatures in all areas into the 80s.
Thank you, Ken. Finally, at 5, a new AI app is helping parents track their kids' cell phone habits to improve their mental health.
It's a lot of pressure on parents to try to keep up with this tech that is constantly changing, if not daily, hourly.
The app is called Balance.
As I scroll, it'll explain how his tone was in his texting, and then it'll show me the most used apps for the time that he was on his phone.
It is the first app to use artificial intelligence to monitor a child's habits and emotional well-being by tracking language patterns, online tone, emotional state, and even late-night activity, then reporting it to the parents through the app. The CEO of that app had a daughter with severe depression. He didn't know how to help her until he looked at her phone.
And I looked at it, and I mean, it's literally all there. All the questions she's asking, the things that she's struggling with. To me, it seemed very clear that the truth is actually on the device.
The AI creates a baseline and then can tell parents when their teenager is struggling based on their communication. The dad creating this app with clinical therapists and counselors in the hope of giving teenagers a voice and parents a leg up on cell phones and mental health. Again, the name of that app is Balance. And that's the world that we live in for Friday, the 1st of August. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.